AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
Oh, it's a goal. Who got the assist? Who got the assist?
Greetings and sisters. At the time of recording, it's half-time in the 8:15 evening fixtures on Wednesday. Much has occurred. Much may also be about to occur. But one thing we have learned, Sam, is that 5-1 is a tricky scoreline. We've also been reminded that FPL minefields occur during midweeks. But yes, back on a Wednesday, due to scheduling and the pointlessness of recording tomorrow for a pod only live for a day, but hopefully not a usual duration due to those quick turnarounds. Joined as always by Sam. You're right, mate. Sorry, it's a bit later than normal.
That's all right. I think it was important to have at least some context from the fixtures. Wish it was going slightly better. It's a bit of a car crash, all things being considered at the moment. But there are many of you out there that are in a similar boat right now. Rotation has hit, and a few different things might yet to still be going wrong in the next 24 hours or so. But we are here as always. Who got the assist? On today's agenda, we'll take a look at Game Week 14 as it's currently happening. Of course, we don't have the full picture at the moment, just a bit of an update as to what we decided to do going into the game week, how it's going so far, and what we expect from the rest of it. And then we'll move on to Game Week 15 in focus. So a quick reminder that, of course, we've got a use it or lose it situation this week with transfers. So you've got to make sure you actually do use or make the most of all of your transfers before they all get topped up and reloaded to 5. Form versus fixtures will bring that to life a little bit. Obviously, there are a lot of names that we could be considering, both for long term, but also as a short term 1 week thing if you do have a few transfers spare. Best captaincy, as always, 1 week punts, and then our teams with several options on the table, although I think we both only have one free transfer. It is Wednesday, the 3rd of December. As Tom mentioned, it's half-time in the 8:15 kickoffs. We're about 80 minutes into the ones that kicked off a little bit early, so we'll obviously have a little bit of that updating in the background. If anything major happens, we'll probably reference it. But yeah, I think that's where we're at the moment. Should we quickly assess how we're doing so far, Tom?
Yeah, let's do it. So we're not going to do a proper update, obviously. Game week very much in progress. Yeah, I mean, how's it gone for you so far? Obviously, you now have players on the pitch. You were a little while ago worried that you only get 8 men. Now you've got kind of halves of men all around the place, haven't you?
I mean, it's absolutely catastrophic so far. I'm really, really grumpy about this week. I can't remember a week that I've actually been this annoyed by it all, because it just didn't feel like all of the players would get rotated, and yet here they are. And we've even got a question mark about Bruno tomorrow, who was my secure 90-minute man. Anderson, who, again, DEFCON monster, 90 minutes a game, has got a yellow card and is nowhere near DEFCON. So it's just all gone wrong. I've doubled my rank down to 500-ish K from 250 so far. I've got Mbermo tomorrow, but I made the wrong transfer there because that should have been Foden and I would be 17 points up. Yeah, it's all been a bit of a nightmare, to be honest, Tom. I'm not in a great mood by it all. I'm a little bit triggered, but oh well, these things happen.
Yeah. No, it's I'm not too sure what to say now. I got
It's awful.
I got very fortunate with a Tarkovsky 10-pointer yesterday. I've obviously had the Munion's goal tonight, and Haaland has scored, and that's it. at the moment. But yeah,
Yeah.
the two returns from Munoz and Tarko have really helped. I mean, we've already been asked in the chat, why is the safety score so high? And I think it's just because lots of fairly well-owned players across the board have done stuff, especially like of Gahey, who got an assist earlier on. He's currently on 12.
Yeah.
I think he might get. I think Dan was just saying in the chat he's just got DEFCONs at the moment. So yeah, there's lots of that going on right now, and it's it's been a very tricky week. I don't mind the carnage myself, but it is just objectively. It's just when I think about my team subjectively, I'm like, oh, for Christ's sake. We're hoping for late return somewhere across the board, really. It's I think we were quite phlegmatic about what could happen on game weeks like this a couple of weeks ago when we gave our reminder, Sam. But yeah, it certainly isn't fun, is it, when things don't quite go your way? Especially because I think that we're both quietly confident, weren't we? Famous last words, perhaps, on Tuesday evening, that we probably get 10 starters probably out of it. So I think the likes of Thiago, Timber for you, and then Saka all being on the bench has just been a bit of a surprise, I suppose. Maybe we shouldn't be surprised, but it has turned out that way.
Look, I mean, all of them had a doubt. Like every player always has a doubt. It's never 100% certain. But looking at all of the predictors and just using my own thought process, I thought maybe I'd get unlucky with 1, 2 at absolute worst to get 3 already, and then who knows what's going to happen with Bruno as well. It is just a lot worse than I thought it would be, to be honest. So I've obviously misread it. And then it's one thing misreading it, but then also the players that you don't own starting. So you're kind of like double exposed. Like you've got players who aren't even on the pitch going up against people who are great options and were just as likely to get rotated, but haven't been. And then they go in Hall like I said, quite triggering. But it's one game week in 38. These things happen, and I'm trying to get over it as quickly as I can.
It's just very unusual because I think normally we were on a Tuesday when basically everything's done, and you've had time to just digest everything that's happened. So at the moment, I can see why you're not the happiest bunny in the world ever. Should we turn the page and think about the week ahead then? So obviously in our very unique situation, aren't we, Sam, with this use it or lose it point in the season that, apart from game week 38, I don't think we've ever really had before.
Yeah, it's an odd one that they even gave us this in the first place, to be honest. And obviously, as seasoned FPL players, as I'm sure most people watching this will be, we will absolutely take the extra 5 free transfers and try to use it in a way that is advantageous to us. There will be those out there who obviously want to use the 5 free transfers straight away. I think it's a really good thing that these 5 free transfers aren't coming in game week 15. They're coming in 16, because there's a lot of people who probably will be a little bit triggered after all of the rotation, and just removing the option of overreacting and just going on full tilt is probably for the best. So yeah, I'm grateful that it's happening in another game week down the road. So I've got limited damage I could do to my own team in the 1 week between now and then. It does also offer up a few different ways of utilizing the 5 free transfers, whether that's okay, I'll go aggressive now with a 1 week punt, or several if you've got a few free transfers, and attack what are some actually pretty good fixtures in game week 16, and you might have a little bit of a better idea of who's going to start, having seen what we have in the last few days with rotation. You can be a bit more confident on certain players, or maybe try and read the tea leaves of some managers who do like to rotate and take a bit of an upside punt. The other option is, of course, try to set up your team for the long term with as many steady eddies as possible. Use the free transfers that you've got spare now to set up for the long term. And then by the time we get to game week 16, you can hopefully roll as many of those through to a point where we hit the chip season and they do become very, very powerful to have.
Yeah, very well put. I think initially as we said a few weeks ago, the feeling was that it was a lovely gift to the less engaged manager. I don't want to use the C words, not the C word, but the other C word that neither of us like to use. And I think that you're right to just highlight that there are so many routes open to us engaged managers to use this as an edge, rather than what the Dalton originally for. And I think that that's what we'll do. And I think that that's kind of going to be really powerful for a lot of people, because I think, this week aside, which has been a little bit dodgy, we have managed to work our way to having quite strong squads overall. Obviously helped by quite a few kind of unique contextual points surrounding this season, as we discussed on the template pod. That's really helped, and we have ended up in a situation where perhaps there was a bit of a use it or lose it this week. And I think that by game week 16, there's going to be quite a lot of luxury going on around the place potentially, and I think that could be really cool. Honestly, I do just wonder, before we move on, because I know we're kind of trying to rifle through this one quite quickly. Do you think FPL regret it, Sam? I don't know.
Yeah.
They couldn't have known, but it does feel like one of those things which is a little bit like, oh, we did a bit of a whoopsie there potentially.
Yeah, I was wondering this morning, actually. Weirdly, I didn't actually see it in the running order, but I had this in the back of my mind. Like, if they knew what was going to happen with the context behind some of the players who are going to Afcon not being really that big of factors at the moment, would they have done it? So if you look at it, you've got Salah, who's out of the team at the moment twice in a row. I've just seen Saka score, by the way, so I am smiling. Hopefully it doesn't get chalked off. So yeah, we've got Salah, who's no longer an option right now. Sarr, who's injured. Who else? There was one other that was not really an option. I can't. It's the name's escaping me at the moment. But Wissa. Who isn't going to Afcon either now. And obviously has also been injured for the whole season, really, since that first international break. So take those three actually like pretty popular assets out of the game, and there's not really that much left to do. There's Mbermo, there's Ndai maybe hanging around for a few people, but I mean, if they knew the lay of the land going into game week 16 now, there's no way that they would have felt it necessary to give us 5 free transfers. I think they maybe assumed, and I think it's safe to have assumed, that Salah would have been a much bigger influence on all of our squads by now, and therefore maybe there was a cause. But we discussed it at the time. It felt like the one change, or at least to me, and I think to you as well, Tom, that it felt almost like overdoing it. You're over egging it for the less engaged managers a little bit, and it just didn't feel as necessary. And we like the planning element of it, so we would have seen it coming. And that's half the advantage of being a really engaged, obsessive FPL manager like we are. So it removed that extra benefit, I think, a little bit. So yeah, I don't think they'd do it again if they knew this was happening.
I know what you mean. I suppose on the other hand, like, because we've seen it coming, we're going to be able to get more value out of those free transfers potentially. But the point that you made about Salah not being a big part of most FPL teams stands like so strongly, really. Bumo, definitely, that's one that's going to be in a lot of teams. But other than that, I'm really struggling to think about what other sort of surgery people are going to need to do, especially because loads of people with Bumo, if we don't get to Bumo, if we don't get to game week 16 and Foden isn't kind of the biggest part of the template ever seen, I think he will be very quickly given the prices. So it won't be kind of the biggest change you've ever seen in the world. And I suppose it's just a case of using those 5 free transfers for good. And we'll come back to this in game week 16 and wondering what the hell we're going to be doing. Maybe it'll be really, really clear. I've actually got a couple of points in a little bit for the players that we're going to speak about. In terms of this week's kind of use it or lose it, because all of this does boil down to the fact that this week does create this general feeling of use it or lose it. And you picked up on it. Short-term picks versus longer-term decisions. How are we going to thread this through? And I think really, obviously, it comes down to your own kind of point of view and where you are. Full disclosure, I've already used a transfer this week. I've completely C-worded it out. Either one works.
F-worded it out.
F-worded it out, exactly. So Semenyo has gone for me for Foden, and I would never have done that despite the fact I would have done that about a few years ago, but I'd never done that this year if it wasn't for the price, if it wasn't for the free transfers coming. So the price rise was coming, but I didn't really have an issue with those numbers. And I'm aware there could have been an injury, but I've got decent bench depth. And I was thinking, well, I've seen enough when it comes to Foden. I'll get that done. But I see that as kind of a bit of a longer term pick, and maybe with the shorter term picks, which we'll come on to in a sec, there may be some latitude to go there. But for me, really, it kind of it was initially, this pod was set up to kind of look through a lot of kind of really exciting sort of maybe shorter term picks. But I think as soon as Foden put that performance in last night, and obviously the ones he's put in over the last couple of weeks, I think literally the last couple of weeks, come on to that in a sec. It just felt like a no-brainer to me to just get that done and bank the 0.1 on Semenyo for whatever that's worth as well. So yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also very tempted with Foden. Obviously, 2 incredible performances for the goals, but also the performances in general. I think he hit 13 on the DEFCON as well. So only the second time this season he's hit DEFCON. He was all action, a brilliant performance, and he's been putting in quietly good performances for quite a while now. Hence why he's been in the team getting 90 minutes for most weeks. So yeah, he does go on these little patches where Pep absolutely loves him to bits. He's doing everything right. He's a fitness monster. It just feels like all of the signals are pointing towards him to continue this. The only question is like, as secure as we thought some of the picks were this week and they get rotated, is there any chance that he misses matches like Sunderland after playing 2 90s in a row? Sunderland, and then it's Real Madrid, I think, after that, and then Palace. I think it's Palace. Yeah, it's, if he was ever going to miss one, it would be this one, but I just can't see it happening in the form he's in at the moment. And they need to keep winning because Arsenal keep winning.
They do, and we do. And the fixture run, yeah, okay, right. Leeds and Fulham have gone, and they've gone with a plum, haven't they? So there is definitely an element moving on to form versus fixtures. The data on screen, if you watch on YouTube, and the data will cite potentially here is correct to game week 12. Obviously, hasn't been updated for this week. Like basically, I think that they need to keep winning. And despite the fact that the two double-digit hauls have occurred, and there could be a whiff of the boat has the ship has sort of sailed. I do think that the fixtures are good enough over the short term to go with that. And Foden himself, when watching watching against Leeds and watching against Fulham, especially when watching against Fulham, I was a bit annoyed I didn't buy Saka, but now it's kind of not quite evened out. But I didn't buy Foden over Saka. Now I've kind of got a goal from Bukayo and an assist from Bukayo last week, so I'm happier. But last night I just thought, you know what, mate, I've seen enough. Like, he's climbing the underlying data ranks as well. He was in like kind of like 20 in the 30s. I did check the updated one, and he's kind of in the top, like just outside the top 10 now, I think it is for underlying data. So very, very good. And one little foible I noted when I was frantically doing notes after dinner earlier on, Sam, for anyone who cares about this, 4 big chances this season, and they've all come in the last 4 game weeks. 3 out of 4 have come in the last 2. So something's really changed there, especially because what we were saying about him being that more Odegaard-y sort of profile. Something's really happened between the last 4 weeks. I did a quick comparison of the last 4 weeks compared to like the rest of the season, and something has really altered in kind of how he's being deployed by Pep in games, and I think that's really showing. He himself said that he was looking for scoring more goals, basically, because he hadn't done anything apart from the goal against United this year thus far, had he? And I think that a lot of people are going to be looking at, we've got a couple of other options as well. If you can't quite get to Foden, they're a little bit cheaper, but I think a lot of people are going to be looking at Semenyo and thinking, well, if he hadn't done it last night, should I be doing that? And for me, just to justify that a little bit, I was quite late to Semenyo, so I didn't have loads of money invested. I think it was 0.1 million I was making on him, but that's kind of it. Like, I was right on the cusp of that. Don't have much value tied up in him, and he's really tight. He's really sort of dropped off Semenyo recently, even though you can make a case that a good player is always going to continue to return. I completely agree with that, and I'll be looking to bring him probably back in for the Burnley fixture. I think it is in game week 17. That's probably the time where I'm looking at spoilers for a few weeks' time. That's when I'm probably going to be looking at a bit of a switcheroo in terms of how my team's set up to accommodate a 3-5-2. But
Yeah.
I just kind of felt for Chelsea and for Chelsea and Man United, I was okay to kind of take the hit on losing Semenyo for the next two, and he just seemed like that is like the only spot that I really had to lose with Saka and Bruno, as we've said many times ad nauseam. Good players just to stick in your team, and Minte for me, even though he's done nothing tonight and 4 goals, still I think a good value pick at kind of 6.2. I think it is maybe 6.3 now.
Yeah, I think he's gone up to 6. I think it's 6.3. But anyway, yeah, great value pick as well. And I completely agree with your planned transfers and restructuring to a 3-5-2 in the next few weeks. I think Semenyo is someone that I am also looking at moving on. Not because I'm desperate to get rid of him necessarily, just because I think there is an opportunity for higher upside there with Foden when he's in this kind of mood. And with these fixtures coming up, 15, 16, 17, they do look really good. If he gets the minutes, that's my last question is, am I absolutely certain he plays all 3 of those games? If I am, then I probably do make that move. And Semenyo can easily come back in, especially like in my team, for instance, I've got Mbermo and I will be getting rid of him in game week 17. So Semenyo can just come back in for Burnley for that fixture easily. Or if something happens to Semenyo, I can just as easily go to Minter that week, who's also got a nice fixture at home to Sunderland. So I've got a very easy reversal of that move if I want to get back to him. And Foden, in the meantime, he just feels like a bit of a runaway train. And there are players that sometimes I look at and I'm like, yeah, there's a bandwagon forming. I'm not so scared of it. I feel like it's gonna like just kind of flitter away, and it's just not going to continue. With this one, I do have a bad feeling that if I don't jump on soon, I'm going to just get completely left behind, because it's not just he's had 2 braces. He has been playing very well in a much more central area. He's picking up better underlying data. He's playing on the eye much closer to Erling Haaland. He's popping up in those final third areas, in central areas in the box. Yeah, I think your voice note earlier to me privately as well convinced me even further that it just does seem like a move that I don't want to miss out on. I do have another route that I can take that makes it maybe slightly less obvious than some. But yeah, I don't really have much more to say on him. I think he's absolutely amazing, and I want him in my team sooner rather than later.
Yeah, good Fodening. No one wants to be on the receiving end of that. But then you got, I mean, if you're on Foden, I will move on because I'm aware that a lot of people already probably have jumped as well. On Foden, I just want to, if you were on Doku, per se, would you put any value in crabbing over to Foden if you could? Or would you kind of back your man when it comes to Doku? I know that you're not the biggest Doku fan in the world. I just think with the minutes and with the production for Foden, I think that you probably, and given where we are as well, this particular opportunity where use it or lose it, crabbing sideways transfers are probably okay. I just kind of hold my nose and get that done.
I would too, but it wouldn't be the absolute top of my list of priorities if you've got other issues. So if you've got that transfer spare and you've got nothing else to do with it, and you do have a route to get to Foden from Doku, I would, as you know, I massively prefer Foden over Doku. So yeah, I would do it if there was nothing else to do. But if it does feel like a bit of a luxury. So if even with the use it or lose it transfers this week, if you've got anything else that you think provides slightly more upside, I don't mind just holding that for another week or so if you need to.
Yep. All right, cool. So if you can't get there and you're not interested in Doku, who still, provides a decent option, I suppose, still doing all right in the underlying data. I think he's still kind of in the top 5 for that. So if you can't get to Foden, I think that Doku would be an okay choice as well. There are a couple other options kind of on the table here. So number one being Cunha, one player that I was very, very interested in up until I watched Phil Foden again. I was just like, what am I doing? I can't be doing this to myself any longer. He says, and I'm sure Foden gets benched and that's it all over. But with Cunha, I think there's one thing just before we talk about him as a player, which I think is really interesting, is this weird sort of Man United thing where they've got lots and lots of games by dint of them not being in European competition, where they're the sole kind of their game is the sole fixture one week or another. So game week 15, obviously this week is Wolves tomorrow. On next week, game 16, they've got the Monday game against Bournemouth. On game week 17, they've got the Sunday game against Villa. And on Boxing Day, they're the only team that play against Newcastle. Now, none of those fixtures are particularly great, but if you are the sort of person who looks at the calendar and thinks, hey, you know what, I want kind of more on those days. If you want to pair it with Bruno, you can't afford Bruno, you want a player from United who are decently performing in terms of underlying data. It needs to be said, despite the fact that they are a very frustrating team at times. Could that be something that people could bear in mind potentially?
Yeah, I would absolutely be looking at Cunha. Obviously, we've had the difficulties with I think it was a concussion protocol we had to go through, wasn't it? Yeah. And they kept it fairly close to their chest, but yeah, head injury. They obviously couldn't play him in the last game week, but back in training, obviously in all the pictures today, looks like he's going to be back in the squad for tomorrow. We will at least have that information, which will be nice to see him start tomorrow. So we've got a little bit more to go on. But Wolves away, his old club, back at Molineux as well. If you believe in the X narrative, then I like a lot about it. I've obviously gone with Mbermo alongside Bruno for now, but I'm absolutely open to bringing in Cunha as a replacement for Mbermo if for whatever reason I don't get back to Semenyo in a few weeks' time. The only thing I would say is at the moment the data hasn't been astoundingly good, but the minutes haven't been either. And I think the minutes are about to become a lot better because of Afcon. And he has been sort of slowly integrating much more effectively. And I think we're about to see an upturn for him. So yeah, if you want to get on something early, little bit cheaper than Foden. And we know that he does tend to overperform his underlying data. He's good on the bonus, as we joked about last season, almost constantly. Every time he scored, it was a 7-point goal. So yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. And if you want to just get ahead of the curve a bit, he's one to look at before others do.
Yeah, I see where he fits in at United, but I suppose with Bumo going to Afcon, he's likely to assume a lot more responsibility. These are also very qualitative points, of course, as either one of the 10s or in the number 9 slot for Sesko at times. Don't really like him in number 9. I think he should be kind of a 9.5, a bit like João Pedro. But either way, he'll be in the mix. And as you said, not doing much on the day due to the injuries, more a fixture play. And for me, one that I'm looking to jump on probably a little bit later now, because I'm not buying him in 15, which obviously I'm not, because I bought Foden. It's that 19 to 21 triple when you've got Wolves at home, Leeds away, and Burnley away at the end of this year and just at the start of next, where I think he's a lot more interesting. We're also going to mention Gakpo, who has been subbed at half time for Salah. So something to just bear in mind there. Absolutely smashing the underlying data across game week 12, up to second overall for underlying data. Involved in most Liverpool chances, just under half their big chances. And he is loved by slot, is what I've written here. Hey, got to get the Egyptian king on somehow. And Leeds this weekend could be an opportunity if you are in a kind of use it or lose it and you can't afford Foden and don't really fancy Doku mood. Leeds doing all right at home in terms of the underlying data, actually. And maybe you'd be put off a little bit now by what we've just seen with him being subbed off a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I think if this was like the last of the midweek games for the whole Christmas period, I'd be a little bit more bullish and think, but he has been good enough that he probably is consistently going to make that starting 11, especially with Salah going off to Afcon. But even with Salah going, it's still, I think we've got that 4 game week period where it's all like a 2-3 day turnaround between each of them. And I think we've just seen it too often with him that he can get rotated, and even like an Ungamoa or something could play at certain points. Like, it's not impossible. So it would probably put me off right now. Maybe once Salah's gone, it could be a bit more tempting, but right now I prefer Foden. I prefer Cunha. Yeah, I wouldn't be going there first. Also, he's really bad on the bonus points. So unless he gets a couple of returns, he's probably not getting bonus either.
I feel like he's a bit like Salah back in the old days where he misses a lot of chances.
Yeah,
Seems to just kind of be what brings him down every single time. But as we've always said, it's better to own a player who's getting those chances than not. But yeah, I mean, so there's a couple of options if you're looking to kind of stay around a similar price point, but you can't quite get to Foden. Although, you've got to be really unlucky to not be able to afford 8.2. And there are a few people who are definitely in that boat. I don't think there's. I just can't ever be in a position where I'm advocating a hit to get to Foden at this point, right?
Not a hit, I don't think. Given we're 1 week away from having 5 free transfers anyway, if you're that desperate, just wait a week and do it for free. I think, like, as bad as Semenyo has been, as it's been noted in the chat, Chelsea have conceded a couple to Leeds today, so it wouldn't be the most surprising thing in the world for Semenyo to bag a couple or get something in game week 15. As annoying as he's been to own, he does seem to do quite well against the better teams, and at the end of the day, that it will come good eventually. He's not just going to go through the rest of the season blanking. So yeah, there could be a bit of a correction because I think he's been a bit unfortunate recently. Probably not worth a hit for me.
Yeah. All right. Leaving the defenders this week, because I think that there's probably going to be not too much that you're going to be looking at defensively. Maybe, I mean, maybe it was famous last words. Maybe there's an injury to Virgil or something that's happened, and I've missed it. But other than that, I don't really think that for use it or lose it scenarios you'd be looking at defenders. I've got to give a quick shout out to Danny Munoz, who yet again has evaded getting yellow cards.
Yeah,
while also scoring. I mean, I'm an idiot for doubting him. And Palace defense just keeps rolling on, doesn't it? Really, Sam. It's pretty powerful back there. We'll come on to the other Palace player in a minute. But yeah, they've been pretty good.
Yeah, consistently tight at the back, and it looks like the way that they're going to try and survive this period of the season with a fairly thin squad is just block out teams and try to score once. And so far, so good. It's kind of working. It worked today. Another clean sheet. Munoz, it just continues to impress, whether it's defensive contributions, whether it's attacking returns, clean sheets. He's got the lot. He's brilliant. So yeah, I honestly, I don't even mind doubling up on the defense, to be honest. As I think their fixtures to come are fairly middling, but they're such a tight defense. I really don't hate it.
No, not at all. I think that's probably about right. I mean, the Cooper again was playing as the left winger. I think it was alongside Minte. Right, at 4.3 could be fun, but other than that, I think that maybe we'll stick to the midfielders and the forwards. In terms of the longer term ones, at the risk of talking about Elliot Anderson forever on this show, he's got to come in here again, just because there's a point surrounding doing kind of a bit of a setup team structure move here that could potentially pay dividends in the long term if you're looking to kind of shift things around, free up some money, go to 4-4-2, or afford a better sort of fourth midfielder. So say you're one of these people who can't quite get to Foden yet, but there's a way that you can swap out Semenyo to Anderson the week after, then get to Foden from another cheaper player that you've got.
Yeah,
that's a way you could do it. And Anderson's still a good pick, isn't he?
Yeah, for sure. I don't want to overreact to one game week too much, because there's a temptation to think, oh, all of a sudden he's going to get like 6 to 9 points every single week because that's what he's been doing 3 weeks in a row. Then he blanks, gets a yellow card, nowhere near DEFCON, and all of a sudden he's terrible again. Let's probably try to meet somewhere in the middle where on average he's probably going to get 4 or 5 points a week. More often than not, he'll get DEFCON. Some weeks he'll get an attack and return 1 in 4. Sometimes all of the stars will align and he'll get something big with all of those in one, and it will look amazing. And other weeks it will all kind of misalign and he'll miss the lot of them. And that's what happened this week. But that doesn't mean it's not going to all happen for him next week. He's going to get 90 minutes again. He's going to be close to DEFCON because he's all action. And I think it is worth noting that the yellow card today, he was on like 5 DEFCON at half time, got the yellow card and didn't pick up another single one. So I think he was probably just taking it a little bit easy, not getting stuck in due to the yellow. I still really like him. I think he's still good value for money. And yeah, he's not a player I'm excited by, but he'll tick along. He'll get 4 to 5 points a week and he'll be absolutely fine during this period.
Yep, no, absolutely fair play. Absolutely fair play. All right, up front, maybe some fatigue with Mr. Mateta now. A big chance Miss Teta potentially could be rechristened as. I've definitely seen a few people kind of saying, okay, maybe this is the time to look at Walter who's back on the menu potentially with the Burnley game up next. Obviously, the return back amongst the returns last time, potentially an option. I think. I just don't know. It's one of those where, I mean, as a Mateta owner, and you're in the 3-5-2 and don't own Mateta. As a Mateta owner, I'm kind of wondering whether the bigger prize really is potentially shifting him out to a 3-5-2 and a bit of a restructure rather than keeping the 3-4-3, just because there are, well, in the shape of Cunha, there's a player that I think I probably am interested in picking up a little bit later on down the line. So it might be that Mateta stays, or maybe I swap him, or maybe something else happens there. Got my eye on players like Rice, who's obviously, I think, gone off injured with a knock. But player like that, player like Gakpo, yes, okay, got sort of half time today, but whatever. And even a player like Rodgers, who got an assist tonight, and could just be kind of quite a nice player who could tick over in terms of guaranteed minutes, given kind of the scarring of what has occurred this evening. I don't know. I've got a kind of sneaking suspicion that 3-5-2 might be a better way to approach things over the Christmas period, but I might be wrong. Either way, I can see why people are kind of getting bored of Mateta and maybe looking at Walter. Should we take Mateta first, actually, quickly? I mean, Fulham are up next. Not obviously kind of had a bit of an aberration against City, but been a very good defence in general, and potentially not the best game in the world for him, potentially.
Yeah, probably not. Although, to be fair, Fulham shipping 5, well, it was against Man City, to be fair. But yeah, I don't think he's a must sell, but him coming off around 60 minutes a few weeks in a row now is not, well, outside of the Man United game, is not ideal. And you don't want that from your striker for that sort of money when there are other players, admittedly in a different position, but around the same sort of price point, who are getting generally very good minutes and approaching that sort of underlying data as well. I don't think he's a fire sale. You can hold on to him if you need to, but I do like what you can do with your side if you get rid of him and downgrade him. I chose to go without him and give myself a weaker bench. And during this period, that might be a bit of a risk. I've got GU, and obviously I got away with it, but like I might have to have Rodon on off my bench this week, but it could have easily been worse than that. I could have had no players coming off and ending up with 10, maybe even 9 players if I got unlucky. So there is an advantage to having 3 playing strikers rather than downgrading it all the way to a GU. Maybe go with like a Krupi or something who gets at least a few minutes here and there. I think if I had Mateta right now, I would be looking at selling him. I don't know whether he would be like the top of my priority this week necessarily. Obviously, if you've got a few spare free transfers, a bit like what I said earlier on, with who was it we were talking about earlier on when I said it? I can't actually remember. Any ideas?
No, I can't remember.
No, I can't remember. But yeah, so unless you're in a situation, it was switching Doku to Foden. That was it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So unless you're in a situation where there is nothing better you can do with those free transfers, then I think it's okay to sell, but I don't think it's a must sell desperately. If you don't have Thiago already, I think that's an obvious move. If you've got Thiago in a 3-4-3 with Mateta at the moment, then your 2 options are probably you move it across to Voltemada, who I really like. He's a great player. I think he's been very impressive since coming to the Prem and good good fixtures over a long period of time now. The only problem is, does Wissa start stealing minutes off of him? But I think he's probably okay for a little while. Or downgrade the position and end up in a 3-5-2 like you suggested. And as someone who's on that right now, I like it. I think there are lots of very powerful, quite expensive midfielders that if you don't go with 5 and you go with 3 up top, it's quite difficult to squeeze them all in.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I really am with you. It's just I actually quite like one particular pick, which sounds ridiculous, but it is Raul Jimenez. Not this week. I'll give it a week. But after that, what I really like in terms of, again, it's probably just getting a bit too meta, but he fits quite nicely in terms of the 3-week gap when United have got those slightly tougher games, and then to game week 19 when you've got that triad, and that's when you can swap it over. So after the game this weekend against Crystal Palace, they then have Burnley, Nottingham Forest, and West Ham, which are they are a middling, a very average team with an average attack. Jimmy's or Raul's taking a lot of shots, but those 3 fixtures are kind of good enough. He's on pens as well, I think, and those 3 fixtures are sort of good enough to just bridge the gap between those 2 weeks before you then kind of swap it over to a 3-5-2. I think that could work really well. So I quite like him. Absolutely no days to speak of. And maybe I'd be better served looking at picking up Acuna and just kind of getting that sorted now in terms of a transfer. But because we've got so many transfers, part of me is just thinking, okay, in future, that could be worth doing. So maybe it's me mega minding it. I quite like that as like a little sort of thing for the next kind of few weeks. But
Munoz is out for a while, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
He won't worry about that. Yeah. So I quite like it, to be honest. He's got a good price, and like you say, should be getting 90 minutes, should be on penalties. Not many other people will go there. So you got yourself a pretty high upside differential there. I like it.
That could be fun. I remember last year, friend of the pod, James, told me to buy him, and I did, and I think he scored 2 penalties in one game or something like that. So just a bit of a punt choice there. Have triple Fulham actually somehow with Anderson, King, and him. But I mean, it's by the by, really.
I did not have that on my bingo card.
No, me neither. I triple United on my bingo card, but not triple Fulham.
There's still time.
No, there is still time. Any other very, very short-term picks on the roster? I suppose Newcastle wise, you could be looking at Bruno Guimaraes for a little while, just because the fixtures are fairly all right. They've got Chelsea, I think, coming up, and United as well. And so it's not like amazing. And the time where derby's obviously not the best game in the world by reputation, at least. But next week with the Burnley game, maybe you might want to add another. If you're looking for a defender, obviously they didn't keep a clean sheet this week, but Spurs got 2 shots on target, scored them both. Chow is still probably a decent pick at the back. Walter is there if you want a very short-term pick as well. Maybe it's them I'd be zeroing in on as kind of a team to be buying from if you are literally just thinking, right, okay, I'm going to use my team's a bit of a mess. I've got a few Afcon players. I want to move, or I want to just do something this week and then use kind of a few more free transfers the week after to really shore myself up and kind of restructure my team to sell my Afcon players. They could be I think that's probably the fixtures to go to.
Yeah, and like you say, if you're looking for a 1-week punt, you're attacking the fixtures, right? And the fixtures next week for the promoted clubs are Newcastle against Burnley at home. That's targetable. You've got Liverpool away at Leeds. Who are you targeting there right now? You can't. I don't think anyone is going to be targeting Salah. Put it that way. Gakpo is risky. Szoboszlai is their upside. It's a tough fixture to target, especially away at Leeds. Man United away at Wolves. I mean, you're not buying Mbeumo now, probably. Cunha, maybe we've discussed. Bruno, you're either in or you're out. Obviously, opinions are divided on that one. And then City have got Sunderland at home, and those are probably the fixtures to target. So we've already discussed the City assets you probably would pick and that you've got any confidence in, and even them, but possibly rotation risks this game week in particular. So I think out of those, it's the Newcastle fixture that stands out to me. So I'd be going after Bruno Guimaraes, especially because he's had his midweek rest anyway, and he's got a great home record Even off the bench, he's done all right. So yeah, Burnley Guimaraes seems like a pretty good upside punt for 1 week.
Yep, nice. All right, let's move on to the 1 week punts for this week.
Yep.
You have gained on me. I've got the updated numbers here, which are 88 for me, 3 points from old Jeremy. And you went with Munoz this week for 14. So you're on 58 points. So 30 points is the difference between the two of us right now. And this week we've both gone, we're not attacking the Newcastle fixture. We've both gone elsewhere.
Yeah, I think I've already used Voltemada. I at least that my memory rings true. But I'm going with narrative. So I'm going for the one Man United midfielder I don't own out of those popular triple anyway. And Cunha, come on down. I back him to get something against his old club. Do the old non-celebration in the first goal, and then the second one maybe break into a little bit of a jig. Yeah, that I can see happening. So Cunha's going to do a Foden, and he's going to bag a brace after doing nothing for weeks, and that is my pick for the week.
No, fair enough. I've gone for Welbeck. It's got a good record against West Ham. It's been in my head for a long time. Many forwards seem to have a good record against West Ham. I double check it. He's had the most goal involvements in his career against West Ham. He's still got this really odd profile. Didn't play tonight, I don't think. If he did, he came on late. No, he did come on late because he missed a cross from Minte. But he came on late, so I think he should start that game. He's got this odd profile, whereas a striker seems to get a lot of big chances, and I fancy him to do a job for me this week. So I'm going to go with that, I think.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, fingers crossed. I've just seen Wirtz has scored. Interesting. Maybe he's the 1 week punt. Maybe that's the answer. But yeah, cool. Fingers crossed for us both in that one. And shall we move on to best captain this week? Is there any question?
Well, no, it's Florian Wirtz, so I've just made a mistake. I'm selling Foden for Wirtz because I love the man dearly. I'm not. But yeah, I think that this week there has to be a very limited question, if there is a question at all. The week just gone, I think there was a bit more of a question. There's been evidenced by a lot of people going with Bruno Fernandes or going with Bumo. This week, I do think that I'm just whatever. Even though Sunderland's kind of XGC, correct game week 12, was kind of just outside the top 10. I still think Haaland is Haaland. There's no other way of looking at it.
Yeah. Home fixture. He's been unbelievably good at home. And yeah, I mean, look, Sunderland have been good, obviously, but this is a whole different level of attacking outfit, and Haaland's irresistible at the moment. So brave manager to go against him right now. Yeah, if you're looking elsewhere, it probably is the Man United fixture against Wolves. But if it was at home, I'd be a little bit more bullish. Away from home, less sure. And the players have less of the goal share. So like Bruno's like 25-30% and Burmo's 25-30%. Cunha's 25. Like any one of them could haul in that fixture, but I wouldn't know where to place the chips confidently enough. Whereas with City, Foden's coming into it, but Haaland is still unbelievably involved in everything. So yeah, it's Haaland for me.
Yeah, can score, can assist as well.
Even off his back heel or bum or whatever it came.
Yeah, no, I the first time I saw that, I thought they'd hit the defender actually.
So did I.
I was just like, that's not an assist, is it? And I watched it a couple of times. I was convinced it wasn't. When FPL gave it, I was like, I must have just missed that. I frankly couldn't bother to seek it out. I was like, yeah, I'll take the points. Why not?
Yeah,
but yeah, definitely Haaland definitely added that kind of link-up play to his overall robustness in terms of just doing the goals generally. So yeah, our teams for this week. Well,
you first.
Yeah, me first. I've already done Foden, so I should have updated. Oh, I haven't updated this team at all. It's last week's team. Never mind, I'm an idiot. But yeah, I'll walk it through. So I've got brought Foden in for Semenyo already. Raya in goal against Villa. Chiao against Burnley at the back alongside Munoz, and my new hero, the cockroach I previously couldn't squash that I have now adopted and given a nice home to in Tarkowski, at the back three. And midfield 4. I mean, this is very good. Saka, Bruno, Foden, and Minte. And out front, Haaland, Thiago, and Mateta. I'm pretty happy with that. And the armband is on Haaland. So yeah, the irony was last week I was saying, that front seven is rock solid for ages. I don't need to do anything with it. What have I done? I've just moved someone out straight away. I might move Musetta out fairly soon as well. So yeah, don't think you should ever kind of assume that things are going to be taken as read. I do genuinely think if I kind of left this team for a while, it would do pretty decent points overall. To be fair,
Yeah.
on the bench I've got Anderson and King, and Rodon. There's kind of depth options. Anderson's always good for 3 or 4 points off the bench. So yeah, that's me. And you've got more of a decision to make, haven't you?
Yeah, a little bit. So yeah, a bit like you, 1 free transfer, 0.9 in the bank. So my current team, as it stands, is Pope in goal, who won't play. So Dubravka off my bench against Newcastle. Goes without saying that is not ideal. In my defence, I'm starting Lacroix, Timber, and Anderson. Anderson at home to Palace is probably the weakest of the 3, but I'm happy enough with it. Should hit DEFCON, etc., etc. So, and maybe Palace are slowing down a little bit as well. So hoping for a cagey game there. 0-0 would be ideal. Into the midfield is probably my strongest position right now. So Fernandez with Mbermo for the Wolves fixture. Saka after his rest, hopefully does the business. Semenyo's obviously the weak point at home to Chelsea, but not a must sell necessarily. He's okay. I don't think he'll do nothing over the next few game weeks. And Anderson away at Everton. And then up top, it's Haaland alongside Thiago, which I'm, again, pretty happy with that forward line. 1 free transfer. I should mention I've got Senesi and Rodon on the bench. So Senesi could come off the bench if there's a rotation that I'm not expecting. And again, not ideal, but DEFCON makes it kind of fine-ish. 2 options. Number 1 is sort out the keeper now, which was the original plan. So Pope would go straight up to Raya. I'd have double Arsenal defence yet again. Obviously, they're a very robust defence. There's 40 to 50% odds of a clean sheet most weeks all the way through Christmas. And as we saw tonight, Raya's the one who won't get rotated, which is always nice. So at least you get a bit of the Arsenal clean sheet no matter what. So that is tempting. And that was the original plan. However, a man called Philip Walter, is it Walter Foden? Came on down with another brace, and I can do it in 1 from Semenyo, and the upside's there, and he's got better fixtures. And if I think he plays the next 2, which probably does, I do feel like it's a train I want to board before it really leaves the platform, and arguably it already has. Yeah, I can probably survive another game week or 2 with Dubravka in goal if I need to. And how much upside is there on a keeper transfer? Realistically, I'm looking at 3 or 4 points maximum upside. Whereas if I get the Foden from Semenyo call correct, that could be loads more points. It could also be negative points. Semenyo could beat him, but the form that Foden's in right now, it's a very tempting move to make. And yeah, logically, I feel like that's where the potential upside is. Also, it gives me a midfield of Fernandez and Mbermo, Saka and Foden alongside Anderson. And that just sounds really sexy, Tom.
Yeah, I really think that's the way to go. I've said it to you already today.
You did, and you convinced me as well.
Well, what? I just don't see any upside in making a goalkeeper transfer. Just whatever. Dubravka could be extra motivated versus old club and save a penalty from Gordon. Who knows? And yeah, there's just no point in doing that for me. God, imagine everyone else is buying Foden and you're the one who's buying Raya against Aston Villa as well, who's just scored 4. Not that it means anything. They're actually still quite low. But Ollie Watkins also back. So yeah, I just think that you do that and you sleep easy at night. The Homer Simpson gif or meme where he's like cuddled up in his duvet. I think that would be you. You do have a bit of time, I think, to chill out on that, unless his price is again kind of on a manic rise tonight, which would be kind of unprecedented if that happened, wouldn't it?
I lose value on Semenyo tonight, though, just for what it's worth.
Oh no! I mean, it's quite close, isn't it? I'd be wondering whether I just get that done, but don't know, mate. Don't know. Depends.
I'll tell you why I might hold off and just embrace the Semenyo drop, because there is a slight doubt over who's unfit for United tomorrow. And if that ends up being Bruno, for instance, and it's just rumours, it might be nothing, and Bruno's a monster, he tends to be fit. But if it is something, then the obvious transfer would then become Bruno to Foden instead of Semenyo to Foden. And if I make that transfer early, then it's Senesi off my bench for Bruno if he is injured. So I do wonder if it's worth the 0.1 lost just to get that extra bit of information. And again, I'm 95% sure it'll be fine, but the 5% is worth thinking about here. And if it's only 0.1 I'm losing, and it doesn't lock me out of the future moves that I'm planning on making either, I think it's worth just waiting on this one, just to make sure that both Mbeumo and Fernandez are fine tomorrow night. And yeah, it's 0.1 at the end of the day. But I do think that that's the move I'm planning on making currently.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm just thinking of what if I was asking a central manager if the roles were reversed. So I was asking you. You say to me, information is worth more than 0.1 million profit, and someone like Mark would say the exact same thing. So, I think just do that as it is. It's not going to lock you out, and I think you'll be all right.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, fingers crossed. We can only go better than this game week, surely. Just got to make sure that Foden starts against Sunderland. That's the only thing. But yeah, I'll do the thinking on that tomorrow and be ready to make the move ahead of whenever Foden next gets a price rise. Put it that way. I won't be letting him go up another 0.1. Okay. Cool. I think we're wrapped up for today, and we haven't even finished the matches, which is kind of crazy. They're right at full time though. We've got 3-1 leads up at Chelsea, bit of a surprise, and Liverpool pulled one back against Sunderland, so it's 1-1 there. But yeah, that's where we're at.
Yep, absolutely.
Nice one. Right. Well, hope you all enjoyed a slightly shorter pod today. Obviously, we'll be back again very soon with a longer pod, but given the tight turnaround, hopefully that gives you the time to listen to this and make your decisions ahead of game week 15. I hope you've enjoyed listening as always, and thank you for doing so. We have been Who Got the Assist. You can find us on Blue Sky at Who Got the Assist, all written out one word, or myself at FPL Pricey. You can find us on X at WGTA_FPL. And again, I'm FPL Pricey on there. And on YouTube, it's Who Got the Assist, all written out. Or again, I'm FPL Pricey on there as well. And if you did enjoy the pod, we'd really appreciate it if you could follow us on the social channels, give the pod a 5-star rating wherever you're listening. And of course, hit like, hit subscribe on YouTube if you're watching here. And that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Sam. Just mentioned FPL meets on Saturday, Thirsty Bear, Neil Waterloo, on from midday. Arsenal Villa kickoff. I'll have to miss that one. I'll get there for the 3 p.m s. Lots going on, including the City game. So we'll see if Foden is indeed benched. I'm sure I'll get the notification on my way to the pub and Leeds Liverpool in the evening. Yeah.
That'll be horrible.
Sam and I will be there at varying times. And we'll hopefully catch up with a few of you there. Thanks for listening. I hope this you think about Game Week 15 and you'll use it or lose it. Good luck this weekend. Back at our usual slot next week. So we'll see you next Tuesday.
Oh, it's a goal. Who got the assist? Who got the assist?
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.